Hi there, Kendra Tolbert here. I'm a registered dietitian and yoga teacher specializing in women's health, PCOS, and fertility. And today I am talking about a topic that is very near and dear to my heart, fertility in your 30s. So we're going to be talking about some ways that you can increase your chances of conceiving if you're approaching your 30s or you're well into them like I am. So I think I was probably around like 27, 28 when people started to let me know that I wasn't getting any younger and that I should probably start thinking about trying to conceive. It was not something that was on my radar. I wasn't in a relationship, I wasn't married, and those were things that I wanted to do before having a child. And so suddenly there was all this pressure on me to start thinking about something that I was not ready to start thinking about. And so I did what I always do, right? I turned to research and I decided to learn a bit more about the truth about our fertility in our 30s. And I was relieved by what I found. So hopefully what I share with you will also provide some relief, and the tips that I share with you will improve your chances of conceiving if you're like me in your 30s or if you're rolling up on them very soon. Now, before we get to the tips, let's talk about what the actual stats say when it comes to fertility in your 30s. The very real truth is that our fertility does begin to decline as we get older. It just does. That's not something you or I can really change. Now, there are some providers and some forms of traditional medicine that actually say that maybe it's not so much chronological age, but biological age that matters. So perhaps there are some lifestyle things that you and I can do to slow down the effects of aging on our fertility, which is what we're going to talk about. So the research that I took a look at, and now remember, different researchers are measuring different populations, they're measuring different things. So these numbers may not represent what all the research says, but I think it's still important research that shows that perhaps the situation isn't nearly as dire as we've all been led to believe. Couldn't get that out, could I? I don't know if you're like me, but this is what I imagined happened to your fertility as you got older. I imagine that you were kind of up here in terms of fertility in your early 20s and maybe your mid 20s, you went down a little bit. And then, you hit 30 and, it goes down a little bit more, but then 35 hits and boom, you plummet down to zero. Like that was the picture I had in my head. Fortunately, that's not true. That's not at all what happens. Yes, things do start to decline a lot more rapidly at 30 years old, and then even more rapidly at 35. But you don't plummet to zero. You don't just fall off the edge of a cliff the second you turn 35. Thank goodness. So I'm actually going to share with you those numbers, and you can go to the blog post in the description box, and from there you'll have a link to the actual research that I'm citing. All right, so here are the numbers. Women 19 to 26 years old had a 92% probability of conceiving within 1 year of trying to conceive, and a 98% chance of conceiving within 2 years of trying to conceive. For 27 to 29-year-olds, that probability was 87% after 1 year and 95% after 2 years. For 30 to 34-year-olds, the probability of conceiving after 1 year of trying was 86%, and for 2 years was 94%. For women 35 to 39, it was an 82% chance of conceiving after 1 year and a 90% chance of conceiving after 2 years. And this was without assisted reproductive technology. So yeah, that sounds a lot better, right? It's not that when you turn 35, suddenly you only have a 50% chance of conceiving. That's not what it is, even though that was pretty much what I imagined. Actually, I imagined that it was pretty much down to zero after that point. Just the way people were sharing was like 35 hits and everything falls apart. And that's just not true. More importantly, we don't know what sort of lifestyles the people in this particular study group, what were their lifestyles? Did lifestyle have a role to play in how quickly their fertility changed as they aged? We don't know. What we do know is that lifestyle does seem to have an impact on just about every other area of our life, including fertility. And so there are some things that you and I can do to protect our egg quality, protect our reproductive organs, and support optimal hormone health, which in the end supports optimal fertility. So let's get into what those things are. So tip number 1, Go have a discussion with your provider. Talk to your healthcare team about your plan to conceive. Whether you're planning to start trying tomorrow, you've already been trying, or you're planning to try years down the road. Have a conversation. Let your healthcare team know that that is something that you are planning to do. The reason you want to have this conversation with your healthcare team is because they can help you rule out any nutrient deficiencies or underlying conditions that may impair your fertility. By addressing those nutrient deficiencies, by addressing those hormone imbalances or other conditions, you're going to get your body in the best possible place so that when you are trying to conceive, those things are already under control and not having a negative impact on your fertility. Number 2, eat a wide variety of nutrient-rich foods. Now, so often when I say eat nutrient-rich foods, people immediately start thinking about the vitamins and the minerals. I am talking about that. But I'm also talking about the macronutrients, the nutrients that provide our bodies with energy. The whole menstrual cycle, developing a follicle, ovulating, conceiving, all of that takes so much energy. And if you're not eating enough, are you really giving your body what it needs to properly fuel those things and to let your body know that it's safe for us to get pregnant? It's safe for us to carry a baby. There is enough in this land for both me and another. If you're not eating enough, are you really communicating that to your body? Something to think about. The other bit, the vitamins, the minerals, the antioxidants, the anti-inflammatory properties, all of those, of course, are very important to fertility as well. Especially, let's focus in on that antioxidant bit. So one of the things that people think is partially behind the decline that we see in fertility as we age is oxidative stress and damage. So oxidative stress and damage can actually impair, or not impair, what's the word I'm looking for, have a negative effect on our egg quality. But if we're taking in antioxidants, we're countering some of that oxidative damage. So getting in lots of antioxidants is going to help to protect our egg quality. Makes sense now, right? Number 3, make sure that you have replenished the nutrients that may have been low, maybe a full-on deficiency or just, subclinically low, as a result of taking birth control pills for years. This isn't something we talk about nearly enough, in my opinion, but birth control pills can deplenish certain vitamins and minerals. And a lot of people are on birth control pills for like 15, even 20 years. I know I have clients who have been on birth control pills for decades. And without question, that has been having an effect on their nutrient status. I have a blog post on this, and so you can check out the blog post. I'll also have that one in the description box below, where I talk about the different nutrients that tend to be deplenished. Deplenished? Depleted. What? Depleted that you need to replenish. So yeah, that's in the comment box below as well. The description box below. Ooh, we are struggling with the words. Number 4, I'm fairly certain you're not surprised by this one. Practice yoga. I am a yoga teacher, and for the most part, I share yoga videos here on this channel. So this particular one I think is really exciting information. So there's some research that shows that yoga can actually help to prevent the shortening of, and possibly even reverse the shortening of, telomeres. Telomeres are like the end caps on our chromosomes. They protect our DNA. So remember how we talked about how some people think that it's more about biological age rather than chronological age? It's that idea. So by protecting that shortening, because the telomeres shorten as we age, perhaps we're reversing or protecting against the effects of aging on our DNA. So that's why I'm a huge fan of yoga. One of the many reasons, really. So practice yoga. You can always practice here on the channel, and I have some goodies in store for you coming in the near future so that you can practice even more regularly with me. Number 5, stress management and sleep. Please prioritize these things. I think so often we make health and fertility all about nutrition and exercise. And yeah, those are very important. Clearly, I think they're very important. But I don't think we give nearly enough attention to the importance of stress management and sleep. Unmanaged stress and a lack of sleep definitely are detrimental to our hormone health. And so We want to do whatever we can to counter the effects of stress and counter the effects of not getting enough sleep. And the best thing you can do to counter the effects of not getting enough sleep is get enough sleep. So rather than trying to do things like drink a bunch of coffee so you feel energized, let's work on why we don't feel energized to begin with. And one of those things that we commonly don't focus in on is sleep. It's something I'm constantly working on. Let's give you some tips, right, on how you can actually improve those things. So for sleep, the biggest thing I would say for most of us is turning off the screens before bedtime. All of that blue light just keeps us awake and prevents our body from producing the melatonin that's so important for sleep, and that is also a powerful antioxidant that protects against that damage that we were talking about, that DNA damage. Remember we were talking about that? The oxidative stress that has a negative effect on our egg quality. So, turn off the screen. If you're watching this at night, I'll be here in the morning. You can always watch it in the morning. Now, the stress management piece, of course, I'm a huge fan of yoga for stress management. There are other things that you can explore as well, maybe taking walks in nature, journaling, speaking with a therapist, spending time with friends and loved ones, if necessary, socially distanced, of course. There are all sorts of things that you can do to counter the effects of stress on your health and fertility. Now, this one isn't so much a tip as much as it is just me encouraging you and encouraging myself, really. Please don't beat yourself up if you have waited until this point in your life to start trying to conceive. You were probably busy building a full and fruitful, productive, and creative life in so many other areas. You can't turn back the hands of time. So beating yourself up, shoulda, coulda, wooding all over yourself isn't going to change that, right? And I think we really need to talk about fertility as being something so much bigger than just conceiving. Fertility is creating a life that is full and productive and creative and pleasurable. Those things, to me, are fertility, right? The word fertile means so much more than just ability to conceive. And if you are busy creating a fertile life, then I applaud you. I applaud you. And hopefully, the tips that I shared here are going to make it possible for you to improve your chances of conceiving if you're trying to do so now or you're trying to do so down the road. Let me know in the comments below which tips you plan to focus in on. I definitely want to cheer you on because you and I are in this together. I am with you. All right, enjoy the rest of your day, be well, and bye for now.